What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions. So thank you guys again for joining us for another Sunday Stock Talk. I'm going to give it a couple minutes for all those that are going to be tuning in live to join. And then we'll get right into it. So just for those that are tuning in for the first time, Sunday Stock Talks are an effort to do a little recap on last week's trading, what we did good, what we did bad, kind of get a better understanding on what our areas of improvement are, right? For this upcoming week, kind of like how the market was doing last week, what to expect this upcoming week, and what kind of led to our success last week. So I think being able to, in a sense, I wouldn't really call these like Sunday Stock Talks like meetings, but it allows you guys as members from part of TechBud Solutions to ask me questions on mistakes. Something that you made last week. You guys can share best practices, and I'm here in effort to kind of make sure I answer your guys' question, as well as for you guys to be able to communicate with one another in effort to share best practices. So I'm gonna tune in on the live stream just so I can read the discussion. Or there's a little chat, and a lot of you guys asked some questions in there. So David says hi. I'm gonna start tuning in. And thank you guys again. I really do appreciate you guys taking time out of your Sunday, afternoon or Sunday night for wherever you are in the United States, in effort to, put some time aside and talk to us. But so yeah, I see Steven. He says, yo. Cassie says, hey. David says, hey, what's up? Jonathan Morales says, what's up? Fernando Romo says, yo. What's up, man? So what's going on, guys? Thank you guys again for tuning in. Connor says, yo. Cassie Cunningham says, yo. So we have a couple people, I believe, so far, not too many that are tuning in. I have about 35 to 40. But regardless, so I'm going to do a little recap on last week's trading. If you guys have any technical analysis that you guys would like me to perform as members, feel free to let me know. I'm going to give you guys just talk about two different things that happened last week that I think I did pretty well, and kind of where I can improve. So says, all right, Danny says, what's up, Ricky? Eric says, fellow traders in Texas. Lucas Swindle, Steven. Oh man, I'm sorry. I do have braces. I get them off February 28th, I believe. So I'm pretty excited. I think I'm going to be filming the thing. So for those that are interested. Wilson, wow. I'm so sorry. I'm really bad with last names, but he says, thank you for everything, bro. Love your channel. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate your support. And then, yeah, there's sweet. So there's actually a guy that's my Fantage Alex 46 says like, hey Ricky, today I introduced my dad to penny trading, and we're going to learn the fundamentals together. So I think being able to surround yourself, personally with people that are an effort to share best practices or want to be successful is definitely a group that or definitely an area of opportunity that can lead to your success. So again, I'm going to talk a little bit about what TechBud Solutions is. So TechBud Solutions, I built it really just for about like me, and it's really how it started. It started about, I would like to say about a year ago. And it started for those individuals that were interested in trading penny stocks, but wanted to learn a little bit more about investing and how to get started. So I had my GTR, and then I had my first investment property by the age of 21, right? So for that, in a sense, my story was not somewhat unique, but it was just different. I don't know, however you guys want to word it, right? I really didn't do anything special. It was really just saving and investing, and I thought it was a very simple concept. And although, and this is why I make it so, or it's kind of just, I don't know how to put it into words, but it's really, I could have never really imagined that TechBud Solutions would have grown, within a year to nearly over 2,500 members worldwide. And again, it's all based on YouTube videos that I've made that you guys have found me or based on referrals from friends. And I'm truly thankful for all that. And I think it comes down to how simple I explain it, or how easy it seems based on my technical analysis. And I'm pretty just clear about what it is that I do when performing a technical analysis. What comes down to, like, how I pick a stock, being able to identify the support, the resistance, and then going into and investing in a certain stock. And a lot of you might be doing day trading or swing trading, whatever the group or whatever the market is that you want to involve yourself in as a career. But a lot of you are also doing it as a hobby, as just another source of income yourself, and learn, in a sense, this concept of investing is going to be really beneficial in the long run. So I talk to a lot of people, and we go back and forth in messages. And one of the biggest thing is that I tell them to not focus on the money as of now. A lot of people ask me why do I do different things when I see so much potential when it comes to trading penny stocks. I really think the way to be the most successful when it comes to being in any market is truly understanding the market that you're in and being the best in the market that you're in. And if I go all in right now, with how many of you guys know, I talk about my risk account, my overall brokerage account, and it sits a little bit over $30,000 with the accounts that I invest in. Although I do have that large amount or larger account, I risk only about $3,000 per trade, and then I shoot for 10%, and I lock in profits from anywhere from 7 to 8%, which usually ends up with the outcome of $250 per trade, right? Or my daily goal, 250. That's how I came up with that figure. A lot of people tell me, it's like, well, why don't you invest 10, 20, $30,000, see that same return and start making $2, $3, $4,000 per trade, which of course that would be amazing. But I think as we continue to learn and as we continue to share best practices with the years to come, and just with the exposure that I'll get, and not be too worried about the initial amount of money that I'm making right now, will truly lead to to my success. I think if you can kind of take a step back and again, it takes people that are in certain positions in life that can take a step back and not worry too much about the money that they're making right now, in effort to see a larger return in the future. I think if you can focus more on the fundamentals of trading, that's why I try to just focus so much on learning the basics and fundamentals of trading rather than mimicking my trades. Because in the long run, if this group isn't here or I'm not here, I want to make sure that you guys can continue to further your career as an investor by learning those principles or by understanding those principles. So as I become a better trader like you guys for the years to come, I will continue to scale out my account, maybe risk $500 every month more than I did the previous month, eventually leading to a $10, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 risk account, and being able to lock in $3,000 to $5,000 profits per day. Which would be ideally the goal, right? But again, it's about, you don't just get there. There's, in a sense, a pathway that you have to build yourself. And I've created this plan on how to get there. And I think about, when it comes to your daily goals or whatever the goals is on why you started investing, if you create a goal on what, your goal would be to make with day trading or with investing or whatever the market that you're deciding to invest in, I think it's going to be very beneficial, because you get to scale it out, see the potential, and see if you're staying on track to hit your goals. And if you're not, then you can work a little bit harder on just areas that you're kind of lacking on. So that's why I really enjoy this group. This group has been getting, I don't want to say noisier, but it's been getting a lot more active with all those in the group chats. That's why I've had to separate certain individuals or certain members within these group chats, just because there's been so many of you, right? And as we continue to develop the account-based platform and all that for you guys, it's been very hard to being able to manage all the different aspects that TechBuds offers. So I really do want to thank you guys again for being so patient, especially for those that have reached out to me with emails. I'm still getting them, although now I'm referring you guys now to the Facebook platform, because that is actually how you join the group chat now, because my email server has now crashed every time I receive more than 50 emails a day. So it crashes at least once a day. So I really do apologize. If you guys want to join the group chat, and you guys are on the Facebook platform, I have it pinned on the very top. You guys are more than welcome to join. And then with being in that platform, I'll continue to provide you with the links on the other platforms that we have available. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it and see if there's any questions in the comments, or any of you have any certain stocks that you guys are thinking about investing in. Go ahead. There's a little chat room that you guys can start messaging me on, and I'll do about 2 or 3 of them, the ones that I think I see potential, ones that I haven't heard of. So go ahead and let me know. I'm also on the TechPut Solutions, just platform. If you want, reach out to me there as well. And I actually didn't put the link on the Facebook platform. Let me see. All right. So one of the questions by Connor is, Ricky, do you find yourself short or long more often? Like how long it is that because I don't short stocks, which means that I buy at a higher price and wait for them to drop down. I don't do that at all. Do I go long? Yes, that's more like my swing trading, but I mainly focus on day trading. One of the biggest things that we focused on last week was momentum trading. A lot of the stocks like CSAN were RGSC were momentum stocks that we're trading, and it led to a really quick profit. It's probably one of the quickest profits that I've been able to see. Like ever really trading with this group. So within 6 minutes, I made $260 with my buy and my sell point. And if I held it a little bit longer, could have almost doubled that. So it really comes down to, I get really scared with momentum stocks because I don't understand them too well. Because again, it's all about hype. It's all about just how fast they fluctuate. So I kind of just try to set a resistance, which is a good sell point. From where I buy in, I have a good sell point where I'm going to cut my losses. I still do the same thing. So the 3 things on knowing where you're buying right above the support, know where you're selling right above the resistance, or below the resistance, and then knowing where you're going to cut your losses if that stock all of a sudden takes a dip, right? So minimizing your risk. So with those 3 simple rules, I still use it with momentum trading, and with RGSC, I cut my losses right below the support at, I believe it was like 225, which was good because it dipped down all the way to 210. Initial trade, when I got in at 230, I was able to ride it to 250, which was great, being able to lock in that larger amount of profits. So Fernando Romo, I appreciate the support. So Lucas Swindle says, do you like to trade stocks high rise before market open, or stocks with loss? That was one of the biggest things. So the reason, the way I built my watch list when it initially came to not even having this group, was I would look at the biggest losers, because I saw kind of this trend on biggest losers on one day had, in a sense, the most potential the following day, right? Because they took such a dip, they usually hit a really low support and they tend to bounce back, right? So understanding that it doesn't always happen, they can continue to drop, but being able to identify the support that it had the previous day and buy in and sell at a higher point. Although it doesn't have to go all the way back, but it has more margin of profit, since it's most likely going to go back to where it was. So I do see myself sometimes trading, previous caps that were in the red and can now be in the green, as well as right when the market opens. A lot of the stocks that go, tip down right away during market open during the first 5 minutes, if you can identify those supports and build this whole plan on where you're buying, where you're selling, and where you can catch your losses, a lot of the times, it's almost another way of momentum trading. Since it already dipped so hard, now it's going to be building back up. You can kind of use that concept to trade and see if you're successful in the sense of that type of trading. It is a little bit riskier, especially if they break their 52-week low, which can be a little bit harder to identify the the support level. But if you can, again, you as an investor can identify the support, and you make a whole game plan on where you're buying, where you're selling, and minimizing loss, then why not go for it, right? If you see the potential there. So that was a good question. I'm looking through all the comments to see what you guys are suggesting. Holy moly. Yeah, there's a lot of yeah, I didn't expect this many. Um, Sean Sylvia said something about Tim Sykes. I don't want to subjugate anyone, right? Um, a lot of people don't like. If you guys have seen my comments, a lot of you guys really do like the way that I trade because it's so simple, so easy to understand. Um, so Tim Sykes is kind of the one that started everything when it comes to being a mentor and stuff like that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with what it is that he's doing. But I definitely do think that him and a couple other, big traders do hype up a lot of, what investing is, and they make it out to be, kind of like a little bit more of a get rich quick scheme. And again, I've been doing this for quite a while, and nor in no way do I consider myself rich whatsoever. But I've been able to develop, a steady source of income because of day trading. I think if I can kind of show you guys the ropes and kind of my best practices, and again provide you guys with a platform, an effort to network with one another, I think that can be a useful platform, for members everywhere. We have people from all across the world, which I think is a beautiful thing, and we have one thing at least in common, and that's the urge to be successful. And I think if you can surround yourself with those kind of people, is truly what's going to be lead to your success. As long as you continue, sharing best practices, be honest with what it is that you're doing, and being able to promote growth within the group. So, yeah, I don't, think anyone is bad or anything. I don't want to say anything like that. Um, but yeah. Right, there's a lot of you that have been that are talking about different stocks. One of the most common ones that are being thrown out there is NAK. So I'm just gonna talk about that one. It's one that we've traded before, and let's go ahead and get into it. So let me start searching it up. So I'm going to be using the Fidelity platform. And again, the Fidelity platform is the platform I use to trade a little bit more like long-term or larger stocks. And it's the platform that I initially started in. So and it has a beautiful kind of chart system that really allows me to be able to see the supports and resistance a little bit better, and they have good indicators and stuff like that I really like. So you don't, I think, have to have any money to open a Fidelity account, but I believe you do have to have a social and you have to be within the United States. So for those that aren't in the United States, that's going to be a little bit harder for you guys. So I do see why you guys brought up NAK. So it looks like you had a pretty bad week, to say the least. It's most likely going to be, I would say, because of the report. No, it looks like there's been a lot of short sellers. That's what it's saying, right? It has a little news section that you guys have access to. So really looking into it. So again, these are penny stocks. So I never hold any of these stocks overnight. There were a couple people within our group that were talking about that I don't want to say they broke our rule, right? Because we have a couple rules when it comes to being in Type 1 Solutions is we don't hold a penny stock overnight. We only trade stocks that have at least 10% potential. Doesn't mean that you have to sell at 10%, but just that at least have that potential so you can at least lock in, 5 to 8%, whatever it is. And then cutting losses short, right? So setting a stop loss and stuff like that. There's a couple traders that because of not necessarily wanting or to break the rule, but because of the Robinhood limitation that they offer in the sense only being able to day trade 3 out of a 5-day period can hurt a lot of you. And I understand that because for those that buy in and see the potential and then all of a sudden it takes a dip and you hold overnight with these penny stocks, although you've had consecutive days of 5 to 10% profit, it only takes one of those days. And I think you guys saw one of the members within the group because of this whole solid 30% loss. I know that definitely like hurts my stomach, right? Because losing 30% of your account, that's gonna not only take a couple days even just to make that up, but you might be making mistakes during the meanwhile. And then that feeling of kind of just like, oh man, like, maybe this isn't for me, is going to start coming. And it's really dealing with that loss. It's going to be one of the hardest things, right? So I definitely want to make sure that you guys are aware of that limit that Robinhood offers, or Robinhood kind of makes clear that you can only day trade 3 out of 5 days, in effort to avoid these issues, because it's a common mistake that a lot of us do perform, but it's one that can be easily avoidable if you stay up to date on how many day trades you've done. So if it's not, a legit like stock, that Fortune 500 company that you're willing to hold, that you think you got at a good price, then be aware that you're limited already, and you hit your limit of 3 day trades within that 5 day period, and you probably should not invest in this one, no matter what the potential, because you can't be selling within the same day. And if you hold and all of a sudden it takes a huge dip, like yeah, it's just bad news. So I'll start sharing my screen so you guys can see what it is that I'm talking about with NAK. And the reason I'm talking about NAK was because many of you within this group were talking about it. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So this is a 3-month analysis on NAK, and this is not one that I've like analyzed before this. So it's one that I've traded before, but it was a couple weeks ago, and it's one that we brought into the group, or introduced into the group a couple weeks ago. But since then, I have not traded it. So right away, again, this being a 3-month analysis, you can see that there's somewhat of a building of a support right around this like 225 to 226 area, right? As you guys can see right here. So I'm going to get a little bit closer to be able to identify if there is a support, and kind of see if we have any upward potential, right? When it comes to like NAK in the long run, once we do a year analysis, it looks like it's seeing growth. It shows that it has upward potential, overall resistance right around this, what is this, 345 area, and a support around this 172 area. So just let's make sure that we understand the overall resistance, right around 345, and overall support, it's going to be around 172. Let's just make sure we understand that. Now we have these little trends on kind of once it breaks this, it tends to trade within this area, and then there is it looks like there's about 3 different levels of trading within NAK that I'm able to identify. So there's a support right here around 172, resistance around 226, and like we know, old resistance become new supports. So now it's building a support at 226. We can call this level 2. And there was somewhat of a resistance right here around 270. Once it broke above 270, it looks like it trades pretty well around 270 to 345. And once it went above, bouncing between these areas, came down, started trading between these areas, and most likely going to continue bleeding back down, bounce at the support, and then ride back up. At least that is what these trends are telling us. So when it comes down to doing more of a 5-day analysis, these trends should still take place. So it looks like it built most of its support around this 210 area. So initially came down. It could have been, because of what the news said, because of all those people that were shorting it, led to this huge, just red candlesticks all the way down, bounce at 210, hit highs. And this is what I'm talking about. When this one opened on February 14th, it came all the way down, could have bounced at 210, and being able to identify that support is what's going to lead to success, because this was a red stock, but although it was a red stock, it bounced at 210 and hit highs of 270. So although it was in the red the entire day because it originally opened at $3, the potential it had was huge. Since it was trading at $3, hit lows of 210. So in the sense, it lost 90 cents per share, which would have put it, almost all the way in the bottom of your list if it's correlated to the percentage growth. So it bounced initially at 210, hit highs of 270. So with that trade alone, being able to identify the support and the resistance, and then being able to sell at that resistance, that's 70, or what is that, 60 cents per share. So for a stock that you bought at $2.10, let's say like $2, right? You're looking at a 30% profit with that trade alone. So not every stock that you have to trade always has to be in the green. when it comes to how the market opened, but just being able to identify the support, the resistance, and where you can cut your losses if it can continue to drop. There's definitely potential in that. So NAK is just a perfect example of that. So being able to identify the resistance, as you guys can see, so it bounced at 210, built the support, which means that it held above 210. Hit a resistance at 270, meaning that it struggled to go above 270, came back down, touched that same support, came back up, went a little bit below the resistance, came a little bit down, built a support around 255, tried to come back up again, couldn't really do it. Started bleeding down after it broke the support at 255, bounced at 226, came up, broke 226, came up, and then it's slowly bleeding down. So this upcoming week, we're most likely, if these trends continue to follow, are going to see this kind of plateau around this 210 area and hopefully see a bounce. So a plan for NAK, if it opens kind of just the way that it's been trending, would be to get in anywhere around from 210 to 220, cut losses anything below the 210 as that's the overall support, right? And there are a couple times that it does go down and goes right back up, but that's because the volume was so high most likely. So if this upcoming week it falls below 210, it most likely means it's going to start to continue to bleed back down to that 176 support that we previously saw about a year ago, right? So being able to set up a game plan on cutting losses, anything below 210, getting in anywhere around from the 210 to 220 area, and have a target sell price as long as the volume is right, around the 270, right? You guys don't need to get greedy. You guys can follow with the trailing stop loss. So as it continues to rise, you guys can follow with the trailing stop loss, which means, it could be a stop loss or trailing stop loss if the brokerage company you use offers this. If you guys don't know what that is, I do have a YouTube video that you guys are able to, let's see if I can pull it up. I do have a YouTube video that you guys can actually watch that I made on how to use a stop loss. So it's this one right here. And that one's pretty helpful. And how to swing trade as well is pretty helpful as well. So that's pretty much my analysis on NAK. So hopefully you guys found that somewhat helpful. I hate how it does that when I start sharing my screen and that Google screen kind of just keeps going forever and ever. And for those that really want me to, all right. You guys are asking a lot of questions, which I really do appreciate, but it's really hard because I make these videos usually 30 minutes and we're hitting that 30-minute limit on how to on what it is that you guys want me to answer. So I'm looking at a lot of you were talking about NAK. And although a lot of you are talking about NAK, I want you guys just to be realistic and imagine how many other people are thinking about trading NAK. So I don't want you guys to jump into the hype just because we're talking about it, that you have to jump into it. This group is an effort to share best practices. And if there's one thing that I've learned is to never invest in a stock that you truly don't see the potential in. When it comes to the analysis that I just performed on NAK, for me and myself, with what I saw, I can set up a game plan and I can properly, trade NAK. But that's also because I understand it, and it doesn't mean that you guys do, right? So I want to make sure that every stock from now, from today forward, to set up a game plan on where you're buying in, where you're selling, and where you're cutting your losses if it all of a sudden takes a dip. Being able to set up a game plan and even just writing it on a piece of paper when it comes to paper trading, when it comes to actually investing your own money, I think is really going to help you become a better trader because you become a little bit more systematic when it comes to trading, since you understand a little bit more on, the buy point, the sell point, and cut losses. And if it makes sense to you as an investor, then, go for it, right? But I definitely want to make sure that you guys see the potential when it comes to trading. And for those that don't understand NAK, don't feel bad. It doesn't mean that, it like that you don't see the potential in it. It's just that you can become, or you can be a different type of trader, and you can focus on a different type of stock, and that's totally okay. I don't want to kind of or whatever. Oh my goodness. any other stock, down your throat and kind of just suggested an effort for you guys to trade it when it's not going to be successful for you guys. So again, think about the stock that you're trading, do your own analysis, and set up a game plan, and that will be, very helpful. So it looks like there's a couple questions on our group chat. And if you guys have any other kind of just suggestions on what it is that you guys want me to perform, feel free to let me know. So there's one. So Dawson asks, how accurate are Bollinger's bands or think you can swim during live stream? Really depends on, or Thinkorswim is kind of a useful, I think, platform. I use a version of it through TD Ameritrade, and it tends to work very well with me. I think a lot of us can agree that Robinhood is not very helpful other than just their non-commissionable trades. Nothing wrong with Robinhood whatsoever, right? It's a developing app since it's relatively pretty new compared to every other brokerage company out there. So I don't want to say anything bad about it, but their charts aren't very helpful as they don't make much sense, nor is the actual timing and how accurate it is. Sometimes I could say that it's at, $2.60 and all of a sudden it took a dip, and it could be at $2.40, right? So make sure you most likely have another brokerage company or different platform that has a better live just timing when it comes to what the actual price of the stock is, because I hate for you guys to buy in at a certain point that Robinhood might be letting you know that isn't completely accurate based on the current market price. So Wilson asked, why don't you hold a penny stock overnight? I think I made that pretty clear because you don't want to, because when you hold a penny stock overnight, since the market's only open or you can only buy and sell within a certain time period, it makes it very hard for all of a sudden if there's news about a company, being delisted or going bankrupt or anything like that. Since these companies that we're trading with that are usually low cap stocks are usually penny stocks, and those, being identified as a pink sheet stock usually doesn't meet NASDAQ requirements, which can never get you delisted. So what that means is you usually lose 50 to 75% of whatever the market value is of that stock. So if you have, invested, let's say $1,000 invested on a certain penny stock, you hold overnight and it loses 50% of its value. Now you just lost $500 on your overall account, and it will continue to drop most likely based on, whatever it is. So being able to minimize loss and promote growth is the whole point of investing. So being able to do that, not holding the penny stock overnight, is definitely a useful tip. And if you see all those traders that are day traders, them, if not all of them, do not hold any of their penny stocks overnight. They usually buy and sell within the same day, if not within a couple hours or minutes, and that's it. It's the whole point of day trading. When it comes to swing trading, you'd like to invest a little bit more in long-term stocks. So those that don't want to get into day trading, we have a different group chat, which is swing trading, which is a little bit slower pace, and it's a little bit more long-term, and I think it's a little bit easier to understand as well. And again, I'm reading all your comments right now, so. Correct. Jabril Ciise, CIISE, says buying doesn't make it a day trade until you sell, which is very true. So you can buy any stock, but at the point that you sell, if it's within the same day, then that day trade. Luis Jimenez says fake money is what you should start with, so which means paper trading. So TD Ameritrade offers paper trading. You do need a social for that. So for those that are outside of the United States, you have to kind of contact or exposures with a brokerage company that offers simulation trading or paper trading. And it can be very helpful, although it's not completely accurate because it might be like 20 minutes behind what the current market is. You kind of just the potential or gives you the exposure to understand how to trade the buying and the selling, setting stop losses with not risking any of your money, but still getting your feet wet when it comes to investing. So for those that done paper trading or are kind of looking into it, then I definitely say give it a chance. If you guys have ever received my welcome document, I suggest TD Ameritrade as one of the best paper trading platforms. It's just, again, my opinion, doesn't mean that it's true. It's just something that I found helpful that I did for a couple months that helped me out, right? It helped me learn how to buy and sell, set stop losses, and I learned from my mistakes. And I didn't have to learn or lose any money with my mistakes because it was all fake money. But it is a whole different kind of just experience when it comes to even investing just $10 because it's your money. So you tend to treat it a little bit more different. So if you guys can kind of focus a little bit more on how you're going to treat, these with the fake money, just try to treat it as real as you can. And not just go all into a certain stock because it's not actually your money. Actually try to like pretend that it's your money in effort to get that overall experience, right? Okay, so I'm gonna be I have to hold stuff on this one. So the PDT, so the pattern trading, that's one of the biggest questions that's being thrown within our group because people get limited so often. So what that means is Robinhood gives you 3-day trades within a 5-day period. So if you buy and sell a certain stock within the same day, 3 times out of 5 days, you will be marked as a day trader if you exceed the third one. So you can do it 3 times, but after you exceed the third day trade and you do it again, then you get marked as a pattern day trader. You get limited to, I believe, 90 days, and you can't lift that limit unless you fill your account with $25,000 or more. So that's pretty much a breakdown on that. So someone asked me, is there any books that I would recommend when it comes to trading? Books that are being thrown within our group chat, which I think is great. I was never one to actually read these books, so I don't know if I should, right? There's nothing wrong with it. So I think being able to expand or be open to any sort of, just best practices or education is definitely, full source to be successful, right? So if you guys have any book suggestions that you guys would like me to read, let me know. But there's not any that I would recommend since I don't want to say, you guys should read this when I actually never read it. So there's not one that I would recommend, but there's, if you ask within the group chat, I'm sure there's a lot of members that are going to be sharing books and kind of just sources that have been helpful in their experience when it comes to learning about trading penny stocks. And then you guys can let me know what you guys think. If you guys think it could be useful or something beneficial for me to show within the group, let me know and I'll share it. I really don't think that's a bad idea. So it's PHX admin asked me, what would you suggest when trying to grow a small account of $1,000 or less? I necessarily for someone that has not traded at all to start with $1,000. I don't really think that's a good idea. I think you should start a little bit more with maybe simulation trading or focus a little bit more on just buying one stock and selling one stock to kind of get the concept of trading. And once you see that within 2-3 weeks that you're able to lock in at least like whatever it is, you set up and use the whole systems of where we buy, where we sell, and the whole concept with TechBud solutions. And if you can kind of pull with it, kind of like 3 weeks or 2 weeks in a row, and you can prove to yourself that trader, then you can start funding your account and actually risking a little bit more. But I think until you see that return or until you see the potential that you truly understand how to trade and you're pretty good at it, I wouldn't suggest investing any sort of money because I'd hate for you guys to risk any money without really knowing kind of function. So, but let's say, if it kind of seems like Phoenix admin is your account where it's going, kind of label yourself as an experienced trader. And if you're asking, do I think $1,000 can be an account where I can start out with? I definitely think so. When I initially started, I started risking less than $1,000 per trade. It just takes a little bit longer to grow the account, but is it possible? It definitely is. So when coming out and thinking, how I can scale this out and how much you want to make, just make sure that you set up a game plan on understanding that you have only $1,000 to trade, and what your overall game plan for the year is, and how much you need to make per trade and per week and per month to hit your overall goals. So having that overall understanding, I think, will help you stay on track, and give you a little bit of better understanding on your areas of improvement when it comes to trading. It looks like you studied for 1 year, so I think, yeah, that's great. All right. I'm gonna kind of stop from the group chat and kind of just get right into it because I kind of have to end the Sunday stock check. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time, so I do want to thank you guys all for joining us today for our Sunday stock check. So I hope you guys found it helpful. If you guys have any questions, I really do appreciate all the messages and all the support that you guys have been giving me. And Phoenix Admin says thank you, of course. And I want to talk about how last week went, and it was a pretty good week because of the momentum trades that we were doing. And I think for this upcoming week, since so many Q1 releases, which means they're quarter releases for the first 1/4 of the year, are being released, a lot of these companies are fluctuating. There's those huge amounts of volume. So there's one company, it's CIE, and their Q1 report, since the market isn't open tomorrow, and I want to make sure that's clear, the stock market, which is holiday that we're having tomorrow, is not going to be open tomorrow. So they're actually going to be holding their meeting Tuesday morning before the market opens. So you're going to see a pretty big spike in volume, most likely, for CIE. And that's the only company that I really know that's having the quarter release. Robinhood does a really good job on being able to up to date on the companies that are releasing their Q1 reports. So I think if you guys can do a good job or do yourself justice when it comes to finding potential in a certain stock, it's gathering all these different stocks. So within this group, having 2,500 members worldwide, being able to identify these stocks that are putting out these Q1 reports, when their Q1 release is, and an understanding on where this stock can go. So being prepared for this stock, although it is a penny stock, being able to set up a whole game plan on, all of a sudden it takes a dip, being able to identify the support so we can get in and get out and being able to lock in those profits. But I think for this upcoming week, something that can be very helpful is being ready for those Q1 reports and making sure that you most likely don't want to hold overnight, because if their Q1 report is very poor, then you're going to see a huge drop in their company. So GoPro, when they released their Q1 report, it went from like $11 all the way to like $8.50. And although GoPro is not a penny stock, just to give you an example on how a Fortune 500 company can take a huge dip like that, these penny stocks that are with these companies can definitely. So I do want to talk about the stock that I talked about last week, which was VZ, which is Verizon. When we identified the support around $47.80, I bought in at $47.90. I did a recap on Friday, and I was up a little bit over $400 when I invested $15,000 into the company, and why I did, because I was properly. I'm actually just going to share my screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So this is more for those that are into the swing trading platform or group chat or whatever it is. It's not necessarily like one that you can day trade, since it saw all this growth within a couple of days. But when I looked into VZ, what I saw is, let's do a three month analysis. I was able to identify the support that it had around this $47 mark, right? And it hit highs of 54. It hit highs a little bit above 54, but an overall resistance at 54. So when it came to choosing to invest in VZ, I saw the support, or I saw it bouncing around the 47.80. So what that meant is I saw that downward trend, I saw the bounce, and I wanted to ride it as it was going up. It hit a resistance around 49, came back down, and now it's mimicking that same trade. So again, there was two chances that you were able to ride it. It really comes down to what kind of trader you are. Again, this does take a little bit more money, but for those that choose to invest in companies or just choose to put their money in a bank account and see a 0.0001% return. With this, $15,000, and again, not much, right? I mean, it definitely is a good amount of money, but for those that have that certain amount of money in their bank account and see a very small return, being able to see a $400 return within 3 days because of being able to identify successfully these supports and resistance levels, I think is a beautiful thing. So I kind of just wanted to talk to you guys about it, let you guys know kind of the different way that I was able to day trade or swing trade that stock. And again, that's why we have this group and effort to share best practices. So I have a whole plan on, although I bought at 47.90. I believe his name is Rick Everett. I'm not 100% sure on the last name, but he was one that jumped in with me. He has pretty much a larger account, I believe, not too sure. But we were able to profit off of this. A simple account on something that we were kind of just keeping each other up to date on the certain stock, and that was really just it. It was a quick $400 profit. Doesn't mean that I mean I haven't sold yet, so it's gonna be, if it goes below $49, I'll cut my losses and lock in a profit of above $400. But if it continues to rise, my overall target sell point would be around $54, since that was kind of the resistance I was able to identify. So that is pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, you guys know how to reach out to me. My email, just because it's been crashing so much daily, is not going to be the ideal just platform to reach out to me. So I think the group chat, if you guys can DM me, I'm pretty responsive when it comes to responding to people that DM me. So feel free to do that. Facebook is not a good way to reach out to me either, since I'm not usually on Facebook other than just posting things through TechBuds. So any way that you can DM me, that's usually the best way that I'm able to answer any of your guys' questions. So if you have, the group chat, reach out to me there, or worst case, the Facebook platform, and just tag me and post it, and I'll see it with that. So there's a couple people giving me a couple suggestions on different things. Okay, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys again so much for tuning in for this week of trading. I'm just trying to read all the questions. I'm sorry, I get very overwhelmed, and although there's so many of you that are messaging me, it's kind of hard to be able to answer, because I want to answer all of you, and I really do apologize for those that asked me a question I wasn't able to answer. So again, reach out to me if there's you guys would like me to focus on, and I'll try my best to get back to you. So thank you guys again. Take care. If you guys can, please give this video a thumbs up, just so I can have a better understanding that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe for our daily recap videos, where we do recaps on our trades and best practices in effort to promote growth. The link is provided for you down below if you would like to join TechBud Solutions, which is a free group you can join in effort to being able to network with worldwide entrepreneurs in an effort to trade the stock market. So thank you guys again. Hope you guys had a great week, and let's make sure that we start this week on a green note. Again, market is closed on Monday, so I guess you guys get to sleep in. But yeah, thank you guys. Take care, and we'll see you guys Tuesday morning. Bye.